Hello. We are back today with Where Goddess Training, and we are jumping right on into Lesson 2. Lesson 2 is Align with Life. This is probably one of my favorite quotes. I love to see a young girl go out and grab the world by the lapels. Life is a bitch. You've got to go out and kick ass. And that is Maya Angelou. And what a beautiful quote, too. And I have to agree. I get so excited when I hear, I don't care how old the woman is, a young woman, an older woman, any time that I witness the female embodying who they are and what they're wanting, and they go after it, that just makes me so excited. So yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes. So aligning with life. Now, this one is these are to me, my opinion, that the lesson 1, 2, and 3 are very foundational lessons. And so it's very potent information, very potent medicine. So she starts off by saying, for most of my childhood, one of my favorite sayings was, "It's not fair." It wasn't fair that we moved all the time. It wasn't fair that in the 6th grade, my sister got a new bike before I did. And to heap on the injustice, she was younger than I was. It wasn't fair that I didn't make the cheerleading squad on my first try, or that I was shorter than everyone in my class. And we can go on. And you're probably right now in your head thinking of a lot of those unfair things that you can think of from your life, perhaps childhood, perhaps adulthood. I mean, I can think of things today that I could go like, it's just not fair, right? But she says here, she tells us, as an adult, I continue to believe life should go the way I wanted it to go. And when it did, I was happy. When it didn't, I was miserable. Without realizing it, I had adopted a model of conditional happiness. Conditional happiness. Again, that is stemming from, if everything goes just the way that I want it to, then I will be happy. But if something alters my ideal of what I would like to be happening, then my world crumbles. And so, whoa, that's an eye-opening revelation. So first of all, let's identify that, we don't have control over life. And so to have the ideal that to sit in this place of thinking everything's going to go just the way that I want it to and everything's going to be perfect, then you're setting yourself up for failure, setting yourself up for that disappointment. So aligning with life is meaning knowing that I don't have control over what life brings to me. And I'm going to just experience it just as it is, the good and the bad. So yeah. Let's see what else we got in here. She goes on to talk about, more about her, her carrying this isn't fair attitude into college, politics, relationships. It started metamorphosing into a new belief. If I just did things right, everything would go as it's supposed to. You can do all the right things. You can eat all the right foods and still get sick. You can wake up early every day and still be late to work because there was an accident that had nothing to do with you, or a car trouble, so It's identifying that outside situations and what we do doesn't control the life around us. So she tells us here, I couldn't control the external world. I tried to make things better by transferring the sense of life isn't right when to I'm not right unless. Then all I had to do was fix myself. So the problem was that what I considered to be right was an illusionary image of perfection that changed depending on what I thought people around me wanted me to be. Let me repeat that. The problem was that what I considered to be right was an illusionary image of perfection that changed depending on what I thought people around me wanted me to be. So as you can imagine, this created all sorts of suffering. I brought the belief that I'm not right unless to everything I did, trying to follow the rules so I could be accepted and loved. She goes on to talk about how over life, as she changed and transformed into whom she was, her attire changed, her attitude changed, but it was all based around what she thought she was supposed to be doing. So like when she says, I was in college, I immersed myself in politics, fighting for the justice. And there was one set of unspoken rules for how I needed to look and act to be right. I wore long skirts and a t-shirt with slogans, no bra, long hair, judge and condemn anyone not on our side, be angry and rail against the establishment. But again, she was doing what she felt like she was supposed to be doing and not what felt right for her. Now, I can relate in my childhood, my young adult life. I was raising my kids, and I remember thinking like, well, I'm a mom, so this is how I'm supposed to dress. And then my role as grandmother came, and I'm like, whoa, well, now how am I supposed to dress? And so fortunately, by the time I became a grandmother, this book showed up pretty close to that same time. And I began to peel away those layers of what society tells me that a mother looks like or a grandmother looks like or how they behave. And instead, I became myself. And I present that to my children and my grandchildren. And wow, what fun that has been. So she says here, the result in trying to contort ourselves to fit an image, the message we tell ourselves remains the same. You are not right the way you are. So we align with who we think we should be rather than who we are. And this focus on how we should be on the outside basically makes us crazy, unhappy, and confused on the inside. She goes on to tell us on page 15, the truth is life is perfectly imperfect, unpredictable, and unexplainable. And a warrior goddess does not try to control life or even understand it. Our job is to consciously choose what we are aligning with and then let go and dance in the gratitude and joy of every moment of existence. The choice comes down to fear versus love, Do you want to be a punitive judge or flattened victim towards life? Or a warrior goddess artist, delighting in the many diverse shapes and colors of creation? Do you want to struggle with what should be or show up with what's here in this moment? So when we honor the cycles of life, we learn to love and learn from all the textures, from the rough edges to the silky smooth synchronicities. We are all works in progress. So while it may not always be easy to have faith when things are difficult, like when life flows smoothly and gracefully, but then to learn that when we practice letting go of the shoulds and other people's opinions, then we create more space to surrender into what is. So understanding like change is natural. Change is just a way of life. If everything stays the same, then it's stuck. It's stagnant, and that's not healthy. Change is natural. If you look at flowers, they go through a process. We're right now at the end of winter. Spring is, spring was yesterday. We are officially in spring. So what we have now, the little wildflowers, they're beginning to have maybe just that green stem coming up, or maybe a little bud on the end. The daffodils are probably already blooming where you are. But then they're going to be gone soon as well, because once the real heat of our spring comes in, then the little delicate wildflowers, they kind of go away, and other things begin to bloom. So if we pay attention to nature, nature teaches us, right? Everything changes. We change too. I am not the same person that I was last spring. I'm not the same person I was at the beginning of winter. Life changes and we change with it. So when we align with life, we choose to align with all of life, not just the parts that we like or are comfortable with, and not just when everything goes our way. Aligning with life means truly knowing and accepting that aging, death, sickness, natural diseases, accidents, humans and their wacky ways, all of these things are bound to alter our course. So aligning with life means understanding that you cannot control the cycles of nature. We cause our own suffering, not because life is so big and unpredictable, but because we are attached to our desires and expectations. I'm going to repeat that one. We cause our own suffering, not because life is so big and unpredictable, but because we are attached to our desires and expectations. Control freak tendencies. We're trying to control the situation. Yeah. I love this one. I love this. Okay, this part. So, cyclical living teaches us to embrace the ups and downs of life. Through tapping the truth, we learn to go beneath our own preferences and dreams to understand the natural cycles of the rising and falling away of things. We learn to take nothing personally, especially not the force of life. And this is quite a dance. As we come more and more in our center, we learn to find the balance of personal will and sacred surrender. So we begin to know what it is we want and put our energy 100% behind our will. And at the same time, we must surrender to the truth that the universe is much, much bigger than we are. And if we try to demand that our needs get met, we feel victimized if we do not get our way, and we begin to fall onto that old dream that we can control everything around us, because we cannot. We've got no control. The only thing that we control is us, our response or our reaction. So the ideal that we can control people and things around us is an illusion. Now, occasionally, we can force our will onto something, and it may go the way that we wanted it to. And then we begin to buy into that false belief that we've got control. But truly, the only way to be authentically centered is to see the ebb and flow of life, not from your personal wants, but from the point of view of life itself. Now, this is another important part to listen to. Life does not personally punish people or seek to cause suffering. It just simply moves. It is only when we claim life should look this way or that way that we limit ourselves and begin to suffer. From the big point of view, the death of a child or the devastation of a hurricane is as much a part of life as the beauty of a sunset or falling in love. Seeing here what it is, what my next message is. I do love this part on page 21. The section is aligning with manifestation. Now, again, if you've been following me, you know I talk about manifesting, and what we put out is what we're getting in. So aligning with manifestation. When we align with life, we learn a beautiful Toltec warrior goddess art, balancing being 100% clear with what we want, our intent, and being 100% at peace with the outcome of the situation. So this part of the lesson, she says, so let's say you want a new car. You want a red car, specifically a beautiful red Prius. But the truth is, you do not have the income or the means to go out and buy a brand new red Prius. But you're very fixated on the fact that you are trying to call in this beautiful red Prius. So when the universe then sends you maybe a red bike or a carpool situation, or maybe a blue Prius, and an older blue Prius and not that brand new one, right? So, but you're like, no, thank you on the bike. No, thank you, blue Prius. No, thank you, carpool. I'm waiting for my brand new red Prius to show up. So what you are doing is you're very fixated. You're attached to the outcome. This is what I'm asking for, and this is the only thing I'm accepting. But perhaps life is bringing you something else that you need. So what we really want to do in our manifesting and our intent, what we're asking for, is not just necessarily like, this is like, I want this red Prius, but perhaps maybe what is the feeling sense behind that? Why do you need this red Prius? Is it because that you're needing reliable transportation? You're asking for something maybe with a eco-friendly footprint? So would the carpool situation have worked out beautifully for you? Or maybe that bike would have, because, it's, not leaving behind a lot of footprint there. So what we have found is that our ego is wanting that beautiful red brand new Prius. But what do we want? Ego aside, that reliable transportation. The paradox is to know what you want and to put your energy behind it 100%, and then let your intention go to a higher force. Work from your feeling sense rather than from your mind. Stay open and curious about what shows up. Sometimes what shows up is the obstacle that needs to be cleared from your being before you will be able to be fully open to your highest potential. So the path of the warrior goddess teaches you to practice unraveling the obstacle without suffering over it or using it against yourself. So how do you know if you are aligning with life or forcing the flow? If the thing you are putting your focus towards does not manifest immediately, or it does manifest, but not how you want it to, or it simply doesn't manifest at all, do you suffer? If not getting what you wanted causes suffering, then you know that you are attached to the outcome. You are not aligning with life fully, but you are attached to how things are supposed to look. If there is no suffering, but a renewed sense of, yes, let's try this again, then you are aligning with life. So I got a cute little example. I got singled up like about a year ago now. And I ended a relationship that I had been in for quite some time. I spent some time single, healing, identifying what was happening, what I was feeling. And then the day came that I decided I was ready to put myself back out there. So I joined a dating site. Oh, that was so scary. So scary. And I'm going to tell you what, it was not pretty either. So I had a few dates. I had a few single dates. I had a few dates that had multiple dates in it. A couple of times I took myself off the dating site saying, okay, like I think this is the cat that I'm going to hang out with for a little bit. But then like maybe a week later, that was no longer the cat that I was going to be hanging out with. And so each time that happened, I laughed about it. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go again. A new dating profile. And so it was not coming from, oh, what was me? What is wrong with me? But it was coming from this place of like, well, let's see what happens this time. And so I found that beautiful. I found that very beautiful because I was not attached to the outcome of any of the situations, any of the dates that I went on. It was just simply living within what was happening. And not coming from that place of, it's not fair. Or why is this happening to me? This is someone else's fault. This is not my fault. Yeah. So it's been very fun to witness that place of unattachment. So going into the explorations and the practices. So the practice here, my favorite exercise of these practices is looking through your house and identifying anything that you just don't like, but you're keeping it because someone gave it to you, or whatever the reason is, but you don't like it and you don't want it. Practice letting go of things that you don't want. Maybe you have some clothes that no longer fit you. Donate them somewhere. Recently, well, this wasn't too recent. I can't recall how long it's been now since we had the hurricane that came all the way up into the mountains where I'm at in the Appalachian Mountains. So Asheville and parts of East Tennessee got hit with a hurricane. This is unheard of. And then that hurricane, because we're not equipped to handle hurricanes here in the mountains, that caused landslides and flooding, dams broke, and a community that just wasn't really equipped for that experience. And so I went through all my clothes and I donated 6 or 7 bags of clothes from my store that I was closing down, so brand new clothes, as well as things that no longer fit me or no longer fit my physical form, but also no longer fit my identity. So sometimes we hold on to old identities when those are no longer us. So maybe taking a moment to explore your home and seeing what you may be holding on to that you can let go of. And when you begin to make those practices of letting go of these small things, then letting go of bigger things gets to be much easier. And a few years ago, I had that the ability to practice this in a much bigger sense. In 2022, I lost my mother. And she had 3 months of struggle of dying that my family and I got to witness. And it was hard. It was hard because we want to hold on to Mom. We want to hold on to that being that presence that she brought. But her physical form just could no longer hold on. And we had to let her go. And so I came to this work, and it was easy and it was hard, both, to let her go in that sense. So when you begin to practice the letting go of the small things, when it's time to let go of something big through the ending of a relationship, through death, then that gets easier. It's not going to be a beautiful experience, but it gets easier. Yeah. So thank you for being with me on this journey. And I look forward to hearing maybe what you decided to let go of with this exercise and how aligning with life feels for you. Have a beautiful day.